Let's now use the interactive session of R, the R console, to feed a linear regression model. This is a very simple exercise of statistics that involves linear equations. So we're going to have data for the observations on the x-axis or horizontal axis and data for the so-called response variable on the y-axis. So let's say that the values on the x-axis are the following. I'm going to make use of a function, a built-in R function that has the letter C, and we're going to store the values separated by commas inside these parentheses. The C is a function that combines the individual numbers I'm about to enter into a vector. So we're going to have 20, 20, 20, 20. For the first four entries are 20, then we have 21, 24, 44, 60, 90, 94, and 101. Then I'm going to store the values on the y variable. The names of these variables are arbitrary. I'm choosing to call them x and y. So I store 1.73, 1.65, 2.02, 1.89, 2.61, 1.36, 2.37, 2.08, 2.69, 2.32, and 3.67. I could use other built-in functions that R has. For example, I could examine the values stored in the variable y. I could examine what they look like with a histogram. If I examine those values with a histogram, for which I will use the built-in function hist, hist parentheses y, and that will give an output that you have here on the right hand side, which displays those observations or those data values in histogram. There are other built-in functions. There is one function that computes the average of those values, mean of y. I can also compute the variance of those values and the standard deviation. These are simple, very simple calculations. Another useful thing to do is to display these observations. So I can plot x comma y, and this displays a scatter plot of the data. But to carry on, or to carry out the calculation of the linear regression, the command we'd like to use is a command called LM. L for linear, M for model, linear model. And we are going to specify what we call the output of this command. I'm going to call this output myFit. So I'm saying that I'm going to use the command LM, linear model. I will write here that y, the value is stored in y, and then I use y and the symbol tilde x. Okay, and this is specifying to R that there is going to be a calculation of the values of the linear model or the line that best fit the observations. Okay, And that calculation performed by the built-in function lm will be stored in a variable that I'm deciding to call myFit. Okay, I hit enter, and as you can see, there's no output. Well, there is actually a lot of things going on there under the hood. If I would like to display the output of this calculation, I can use the built-in command summary, and I would specify summary of this variable, myFit. As soon as I hit enter, I'm going to get a display of the results that for the object created by the command lm. Okay, so as you can see, I hit enter and I get a lot of information here as an output. Perhaps the information I'm most interested in are these values here. The value of, remember that the equation of a line has a slope and has an intercept with the vertical axis, right? So these two values are the coefficients of the linear model that I'm most interested in. The other thing that is interesting is to plot this best fit regression line, and I can do that with the command a b line, and I write here myFit because that was the name of the output variable when I call lm, and that displays on top of the scatter plot, it displays the linear model of best fit. It turns out that that variable myFit is an object that stores a lot of things, and somehow we can interrogate myFit by saying names, interrogative, what are you holding here? What yeah, so we type names myFit, and myFit is holding or is storing coefficients, rank, QR, call, residuals, all these things here. Okay, so for example, I can extract some of those attributes. I can say myFit, and I'm gonna make use here of the $sign. In R, this $sign is useful to extract information. This is like an interrogation. You're trying to extract information, specific information. So if I say myFit $sign coefficients, maybe I did that too fast. I can type this letter by letter, or as I'm typing coef, I can use the tab. If I use the tab in the keyboard, then there's going to be an autocomplete function, and I complete the word there, coefficients, and indeed this gives us the values of the intercept with the vertical axis and the slope of the line. And this concludes our calculation of fitting a linear model to a data set.